What is up? Good mic work back at you, coming up a little bit late this week. As we all know, this past weekend was the 4th of July holiday here in the United States, and things tend to be very busy for all of us, including myself, and Monday Night Raw fell on the actual 4th of July holiday, and as we all know, generally speaking, whenever Raw falls on big holidays or any other major day, they tend to be throwaway Raws, sort of. I don't really like to use that term, but for the most part, we never see anything really earth-shattering or storyline bomb-dropping happen on these events. So I knew I wasn't going to be home to see Monday Night Raw, and I wasn't too terribly concerned about missing anything, so I told all of you last week that I'll be up here just a little bit late to recap the show, which is what I'm going to do here in this episode, as well as talk about a few other things. What you can expect to hear in episode 351 is a quick recap of Monday Night Raw. We're probably only going to discuss the highlights and some of the major things, and a couple of big announcements, too, that took place on Monday Night Raw. We'll also look ahead to Battleground and how the card is shaping up. We'll look ahead to the draft and where we think some guys might go. Talk a little bit about Roman Reigns and his suspension. A lot of Brock Lesnar news, of course, as well as some UFC 200 predictions. And when I say predictions, mostly just going to talk about Brock Lesnar's match. CM Punk's opponent for UFC 202 has also been announced, so we know when he's going to debut. So I'll mention a few things about that, as well as Jerry Lawler's suspension recently being lifted. And if there's time, maybe even some thoughts on Kevin Durant signing with the Golden State Warriors for you NBA fans out there. But we'll start with Raw first. Like I said, I'm not going to do what I normally do and go through the entire show here, piece by piece, because it's now 24 hours old. Everybody, I'm sure, knows what happened and has had a chance to take a look at the show, so I'm only going to mention the major segments. Now, this was another holiday, so of course it was 4th of July themed, and they opened up the show with a ridiculous segment. I didn't even know what I was watching, but basically the whole locker room, heels and baby faces, all in like a little catering area, eating, and it's all decorated with 4th of July shit, and it basically ends in a food fight. You got R-Truth and Goldust up there rapping. They're interrupted by the vaudevillains who start singing, who's interrupted by the Miz and Maurice, who are acting like douches. Next thing you know, there's a food fight going on. Kevin Owens is hiding under the table eating potato chips. Heath Slater gets a double choke slam from the Big Show and Kane through a table. It was a mess. So just a little fun-loving segment from the WWE, but Jesus, it was strange to watch that. Lillian then opened up the show with another one of her legendary national anthem performances, and finally we're ready to get into Monday Night Raw. We start off with a wrestling match, which was nice. United States title on the line. We knew we were going to get Titus O'Neil versus Rusev. I think I might have mentioned last week that I thought this might be taking place at Battleground. Thankfully it's not. They got this over with tonight on Raw. I didn't really expect Titus to win. I guess there was a chance that he could win the title, being that it was 4th of July and Rusev is so anti-America. But really, as much as we all love Titus, I think I love what they're doing with Rusev even more, and I want to see Rusev keep on rolling. And he ended up beating Titus O'Neil, who was all decked out in red, white, and blue, beat him with the accolade, and cut a promo on the fans after the match. I'll tell you what, man, I am really on the Rusev bandwagon right now. I love what they're doing with him. I love his winning streak. It seems like he's just as good, if not better, than he was when he had his first United States title run, when he went on that long winning streak. They look like they're pushing him and putting him in that direction again and building him, because you need a lot of these guys to be semi-main eventers or main eventers if you're about to split the brands up. So the more Rusev keeps winning, the more he's built up there, and I wouldn't be surprised at all for him to get a title shot at some point, since we're about to have 2 world titles again. So I very much like what they are doing with Rusev. I like him in the ring. I love his intensity. I think his character has matured and evolved over the past couple of years. I'll tell you what, I'd pay money to see him versus Umaga. I just really like Rusev. I'm a big fan of his right now. We had a little bit more build to the main event of Battleground, the triple threat between Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins. Now, Dean Ambrose, of course, WWE Champion, he had a matchup first against The Miz, which basically was the culmination of a really stupid SmackDown segment that I did happen to see on WWE's YouTube channel. I guess Ambrose was a guest on Miz TV, and you know, Ambrose was being pretty funny. He's eating a sandwich and just being the awesome guy that Dean Ambrose is. But what I didn't like was the ending of it. How Miz just kind of threw his suit jacket over Dean Ambrose's head and then kicked him in the stomach. You would think that Dean Ambrose could see that coming a mile away, or maybe block it, or just not be that stupid to fall for that. So I really didn't like the ending of that. I didn't think it made Dean Ambrose look very good. But that led to the match here tonight on Monday Night Raw, and Dean Ambrose, of course, got the victory. Dirty Deeds pinned The Miz, which was a champion versus champion match, by the way, because The Miz is Intercontinental Champion. It wasn't exactly Hogan and Warrior from WrestleMania 6, but it was still a decent match, and Ambrose got the victory and kept his momentum going into Battleground. Now, Seth Rollins came out, you thought, to interrupt or to confront Dean Ambrose, but really Seth was just coming out for his match next against Dolph Ziggler. Dean Ambrose, I think, even hits him on the ass as he's walking by or whatever, and then threatens to get in the ring and start fighting with Seth, but really he just jumps on the outside of the ring and joins the commentary team for commentary during Seth and Dolph Ziggler's match, which was very good. Love seeing these two guys work. And Ziggler, man, when he wears those blue tights, he looks exactly like Shawn Michaels. It's the craziest shit. But you knew he was there to give Seth a really good match, which he did. Sold the pedigree awesome and the pin. And Ambrose and Rollins finally got into it after the match when Rollins cut a promo, again burying Roman Reigns. They've been very hard on Roman Reigns. I guess this is part of his punishment. But to talk this badly of him on the mic, and Seth Rollins again reiterated his point that Roman Reigns let everybody down. He's an embarrassment. He should be removed from the triple threat match. So, I kind of thought they might mention the suspension once last week and then drop it, but they are weaving this into the storyline, which, when you think about it, is smart. I mean, I'm a little bit apprehensive, I think, of making a wellness policy violation a part of a storyline, but I think it's working so far, and when Roman Reigns comes back, WWE is really presented here with some golden opportunities, and we'll have to see if they're smart enough to take it. But Rollins continues to rake Roman Reigns over the coals. Ambrose gets on the mic, jaws back at him, and ends up attacking Seth Rollins and hits him with the dirty deeds on the table and stands tall. So Dean Ambrose has got all the momentum going into Battleground, but it is strange, having this triple threat match and not having Roman Reigns involved in the build. We've been waiting for this Shield match for so long. And you got to expect that these three guys are going to be separated in some way after the draft. So in a lot of ways, WWE didn't have a choice but to leave Roman Reigns in there. I definitely agree with everybody that says he should not come back and win the title. Definitely not. I think Roman Reigns should just be punished briefly for what he did. He's been suspended 30 days. They made him drop the belt pretty much clean to Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank, and they've talked pretty badly about him on recent Monday Night Raws. Now, if he comes back at Battleground and eats the pin in that match, I think punishment is over. That's more than enough. He's been embarrassed enough, and you can move on from there. But if he comes back and wins the WWE title, and they basically put him right back on the same track he was going without any repercussions or without taking advantage of the opportunity they now have to turn this guy heel, that's what could wind up being the most frustrating part about this. We have to see if the WWE is smart enough to capitalize on this. I would feel at this point, given the fact that the world knows why Roman Reigns got suspended, they're bringing it up on television and all of that. To bring him back as that babyface that has to beg the fans' forgiveness, they already hate his guts as it is. How is he going to get them to... It's not like they just started hating him after the wellness policy violation. They've never liked him. So how is a wellness policy violation going to help, his status with the wrestling fans? It's ridiculous if the WWE brings him back as a full-blown babyface. Now, he can come back as a babyface, but I think they have to turn him heel at this point. I don't care what they have had written down for their future plans for the next 2 years or whatever. They do not want to get themselves in a situation like they did with John Cena, where they missed the boat so many times on a heel turn that at this point, honestly, truly, it's probably too late. The fans would... Oh my God, they would go crazy if Roman Reigns was a heel. I mean, they would have millions of dollars in main events with this guy as a heel. I think he could do a really good job as a, hey fans, fuck you type of guy. So after this match at Battleground, after they get out of this whole deal, and Roman Reigns hopefully comes out on the other side of this thing without the WWE title, I think they need to lay the groundwork for a massive heel turn for this guy, because I think it's money. If not, then, hell, I don't know. I guess that just means we're right back to where we were with Roman Reigns. The only good news is, hopefully, he will not be WWE champion. The other major feud that's building right now in the WWE is John Cena versus AJ Styles. Now, what I expected to see tonight on Raw was another interaction between the two, and then an eventual announcement of a one-on-one match at Battleground. But they went in a different direction, a direction that I actually like. And Cena was out there cutting a promo, called out the club, basically. Club comes out there, and AJ said a lot of funny things, including beat up John Cena, which he had trending on Twitter for like 2 days. Basically says that they're going to kick his ass every time they see him because nobody's going to come out to help John Cena. So they hit the ring, they attack him, and just as he's getting beaten down, of all people, Enzo and Cass come out there and help John Cena clean house. And after that, or later on after Raw, I believe, they announced a 6-man match for Battleground. I was like, holy shit. So it's John Cena, Enzo, and Cass versus the Club. Now, this is great. This tells me a couple of things in my mind. Number one, I think it almost guarantees a John Cena versus AJ Styles match at SummerSlam. And it also pretty much guarantees that these guys are going to be drafted to the same show. Because there's no way at Battleground this match, this random 6-man match, is going to be the blow-off for this feud. Absolutely not. These two guys are too big of stars to have it end that way. So you know it's going to continue into SummerSlam, which means these guys got to be on the same show. So I bet you both of them will wind up on SmackDown or Raw. I don't know which one. Probably SmackDown, actually, and they might want to keep Roman on Raw. So I think SummerSlam will be another match. Could be the blow-off, or they could have one more. After that, at the Clash of Champions, I think they might be replacing Night of Champions with. But I like the fact that they went with the 6-man match here because I don't like it when WWE rushes feuds. I thought these two guys were way too big to have all of their matches at random in-between shows. This sets up a big match for SummerSlam, and AJ Styles versus John Cena is definitely big pay-per-view material. Who's going to win this thing at Battleground? I don't know. You got to think that John Cena has not looked really good against AJ Styles yet so far. He's been beaten down pretty much every week, and he lost their only one-on-one encounter together. So he could be due for a victory, but they might be saving that for SummerSlam. So they might want to continue to keep the Club looking strong. They are a much more solid unit than Enzo and Cass and John Cena. These guys have never really met each other before, on TV anyway. So it would be hard to believe that the three of those guys could defeat the Club. Plus, I would like to see them get the belts on Gallows and Anderson at some point. The tag belts, that is. So I think the Club has got to remain strong here. Beat John Cena and Enzo and Cass, and then John Cena probably gets the victory at SummerSlam. I know a lot of people probably don't like to hear that, but he's done more than enough for AJ so far, and especially if his team loses at Battleground, you know, he's getting his ass kicked every fucking week by this guy. So John Cena winning a match is not completely delusional or out of the question. It makes perfect storyline sense that he should have to win somewhere. Maybe him and Enzo and Cass do win at Battleground, and then maybe AJ beats him again at SummerSlam. That could be an option too. So either way, I'm happy that the feud is going to continue because I believe that it should. And another thing I think we all have to consider for SummerSlam is the SmackDown World title. Whatever that winds up being and whenever they make that announcement, I think we're all hoping that they bring back the World Heavyweight title and basically just ununify the two instead of having some completely new belt that they create. I think that would be the best option, but you have to wonder how they're going to decide that champion. And with SummerSlam being about a month away from the draft, you would think that that would be a good place to culminate and crown your new SmackDown World Heavyweight Champion, unless they wanted to postpone it to the Clash of Champions. But I would think they would have to either just name a whole bunch of number one contenders and have them have matches, or do a tournament style or something like that. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see John Cena and AJ Styles have the match for the SmackDown World Heavyweight title if they did in fact get drafted over there. And seeing as John Cena is a 15-time world champion, one shy of tying the mark that's recognized by Ric Flair at 16, and plus, given John Cena's status in the company and the fact that he's the face that runs the place and the poster boy, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was the one to win the brand new SmackDown World Heavyweight title. If they want to look ahead to the future and this brand split goes on for years to come, I think it would be nice for the WWE to be able to look back and say John Cena was the first guy to hold that belt. And if that happens during the AJ Styles feud, you know, hopefully AJ can get his hands on that SmackDown World Heavyweight title at some point and hold a major belt in the WWE. So that could be all on the horizon, but you got to wonder what they're going to do with the title when it is announced and when they are going to crown the champion and how they're going to do it. So having Cena and AJ involved in that would just sweeten the deal. The only other major thing to take place on Raw was the continuation of the New Day and the Wyatt family storyline, which I'm really liking. And I said from the very first minute this feud began, they got to go easy with the comedy. They can have a little, but they cannot have too much. And so far, I think they're doing it really well, and I'm intrigued by the feud. And what I liked about their segment this week is that, you know, we've seen the teases of Xavier Woods kind of, you know, being entranced by the Wyatt family and being a little bit more squeamish of them than the other New Day guys. And tonight they come out on Raw and they get in the ring and they start cutting their promo, and from the beginning, from the entrance, you could tell something was wrong with Xavier. He wasn't participating in anything, he really wasn't dancing or moving around or smiling at all, and so you know that the Wyatt family is getting to him. The promo that Bray Wyatt cut, I also really liked. I liked the way they did it. It looked a little bit different, you know, because Bray Wyatt, whenever he does a Titantron promo or a backstage promo, it's always just dark with smoke. and he cuts his very Bray Wyatt-like promo. He seemed a little bit off in this one. He seemed a little bit different. He even spoke just a tiny bit different than he normally does. They did the set inside of the barn that was more lit up than some of the other backdrops he has when he cuts these type of promos. I actually listened to what he said a little bit more this time because I felt like there was a reason to. A lot of times with Bray Wyatt, even though he's great at delivering what he says, his promos are a lot alike, and sometimes if you're not paying attention, you're really not missing anything. But this time, he was letting the New Day know what they got themselves into, and they're the ones that started this, and they invited them to come find them in their barn or on their turf or whatever. Who knows what's going to happen to the New Day if they seek out that adventure. But the whole time, you can tell that Xavier Woods is shitting his pants. And then finally, he has to interrupt the New Day. Big E and Kofi are not taking it very seriously, and he's like, hold on, don't you guys see what this is? This is serious shit. How can you laugh and joke about this? We're in big trouble here. And basically, he's spooked. So I like the whole thing. I like the influence that Bray Wyatt seems to have on Xavier. I don't know if he would really turn heel. I don't know how much sense that would make. I mean, New Day's been around and had been a unit for a while now. But to split them up in that way, I mean, I don't think Xavier could join the Wyatt family. I don't think. But at the very least, I would have to think that when this match undoubtedly will be announced for Battleground, I'm guessing, six-man match, you would think that Xavier is going to do something in the match that's going to either inadvertently or deliberately cost the New Day the match. But it's a feud and a storyline that I actually like right now, and I was a little bit worried. I thought it was interesting when they first started it, but it was something that I felt that the WWE could easily fuck up, and so far they have not, and I like it. I'll briefly touch on the main event before I mention the other things that were announced on Raw. And the main event was a giant, 16-man match with Team USA versus the Multinational Alliance. So on the heel side, they had Chris Jericho, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, the Lucha Dragons, Alberto Del Rio, Sheamus, and Cesaro, heels and babyfaces, taking on another group of heels and babyfaces, Team USA. Big Show, Apollo Crews, Zack Ryder, the Dudley Boys, Kane, Jack Swagger, and Mark Henry. So this was a ridiculous match. I fast-forwarded through the whole thing just to see the end. Zack Ryder, of all people, gets the pin and gets the victory in the main event of Monday Night Raw in kind of a fun-loving throwaway clusterfuck bullshit match, so I was happy for him. For a holiday Raw, it's the type of stuff they do, and all the good stuff to me happened earlier on in the card. We had a Vickie Guerrero appearance tonight. It was rumored that she would be back just for a night because they're bringing back all the former SmackDown and Raw GMs to make appearances, to put their name in the hat as a candidate for the SmackDown general manager. Still no word on who that's going to be. We got the draft coming up now in 2 weeks, and I don't know if they're going to decide or announce who the GM is before or after that, or if they're just going to ignore all the people that have come back and asked to have the job and just run it themselves, and Shane and Stephanie will continue on doing things the way they do on Monday Night Raw. Triple H, of course, is a big personality that we should expect to see back at some point. And the other big announcement to take place on Monday Night Raw was that Brock Lesnar's Summerslam opponent is going to be announced on SmackDown on Thursday. Now, if they announce this to the live crowd, that means we'll know this in just a couple of hours, and it'll be up on the spoilers, because I think they tape it tonight, if I'm not mistaken. But if not, and they're saving it for the TV audience only, we're going to know 2 days before Brock Lesnar's UFC fight who he's going to wrestle at SummerSlam. And that got me thinking. Now, there's all sorts of names being tossed around. I think right now the odds-on favorite and who everybody's betting on is Randy Orton, and that could be a big name for them to randomly announce, because there's no feud or no build-up to this fight or this match for Brock Lesnar. They are just going to announce an opponent for him. And since he's been back in the WWE for a while now, Randy Orton is still that one name that he has never really crossed paths with, other than the match that they had when they were like rookies and shit. So that could be a big-time marquee match that a lot of WWE fans have never seen before, and that could be great for SummerSlam. I was trying to think of people that would work either way, regardless of what the outcome of Brock's UFC fight is, because a lot is riding on his fight on Saturday night, and unfortunately, I thought I was going to be able to make plans to be home for UFC 200, but I'm not, so I'm not going to be able to see it. I thought about going to a bar or meeting up with some people or whatever, so the only way I'm going to know what happened is through spoilers and tweets and shit like that. So please, if any of you are watching UFC 200 on Saturday night, tweet me what the hell is going on. depending on what happens in that fight as well with Mark Hunt and Brock Lesnar, I probably will do a quick reaction video on it sometime late Saturday night or Sunday, FYI. But I was trying to think of people that the WWE could put in there with him to where, regardless of what happens, they could easily change the outcome. And I was thinking of other people. I was thinking like Roman Reigns. And the reason I was thinking Roman Reigns is that if Brock Lesnar winds up winning his fight with Mark Hunt, what if he goes out there and just knocks him the fuck out in the first minute? I don't think that will happen, but what if he knocks him out or chokes him out in like 1 minute or in the first round and just looks like a beast? You would think the WWE would want to capitalize on that. They've been remaining quiet as fuck about this UFC fight the whole time. They haven't said shit about it, which has really surprised me because I think they're nervous of how it's going to make them look if Brock Lesnar loses. So we're all hoping for a Brock Lesnar victory here. So if they put him in the ring with Roman Reigns, regardless of the outcome, it could work. If Brock Lesnar wins his fight with Mark Hunt and annihilates this guy, I say put the belt back on Roman at Battleground. Just for a month. Remember a couple years ago when everybody freaked out when John Cena won the Money in the Bank? I'm like, chill the fuck out. He's going to lose it to Brock in 2 months. You got to be patient. You have to see why the WWE is doing this. You can't automatically just freak out that John Cena won the title because you are going to be jacking off in 2 months when Brock Lesnar rapes him. Same thing with Roman Reigns. If Brock is a complete monster at UFC 200, I say put the belt back on Roman Reigns, and now you got yourself a title match. And Brock Lesnar can go in there and do to Roman Reigns what he did to John Cena back in 2014. And that could be the finishing off of Roman Reigns' punishment. Yes, he's going to have to win the WWE title again for 30 days, and he's going to have to be a 4-time champion, but the payoff will be much better if Brock goes in there and destroys him at Summerslam and wins the WWE title, and they capitalize off him being back as a major player in the UFC. If he loses to Mark Hunt, then they can have Roman beat him. If he loses to Mark Hunt, they can have Randy Orton beat him. But I think I'm with everybody else that is predicting Randy Orton here. I think he makes the most sense because, again, like I said, you're just announcing the opponent. There's nothing being built to this. So if you're just going to announce a random guy, Randy Orton would be the perfect guy, especially since we haven't seen him in a while, and it's a big-time marquee match that the WWE fans have never gotten, and we're running out of time. It's either now or never. So my money's on Orton. That's who I'm expecting it to be. I think it all depends on the fight. I say if he beats Mark Hunt, then he goes over on Randy Orton. If he does not beat Mark Hunt, I think it's up in the air. So I, for one, am going to be paying very close attention to social media on Saturday night. I'm really curious to see what winds up happening with Brock Lesnar. I'm nervous for him, I gotta say. I mean, a lot of people want my predictions on this match. I'm really not a UFC expert. But Mark Hunt has got a lot more experience, and he's pretty fucking scary looking. And the guy is definitely not a tomato can. So Brock has got to be ready. Brock's only been training for a month, and he hasn't been in the game in 4 or 5 years. So to predict Brock Lesnar takes a lot of balls. How can you really predict Brock to win this fight when he hasn't been around that much? He already has like a 5-3 record in UFC. It's not really even that much of a dominating record. He won the UFC World Heavyweight title most likely because he was such a big draw and such a controversial figure for the UFC. They gave him the title match instead of having him work his way up, you know, through the ranks and through records and knockouts and shit like that. So UFC is just as political backstage as the WWE is. So I think a loss here, especially a bad loss. If it goes to a decision or something, I think it's all right. But if Mark Hunt drops Brock in the first minute, I think it has the potential to tarnish a lot of what Brock Lesnar has done in the WWE. And I'm not going to be too terribly happy about that. But if he wins, the payoff is going to be amazing because it just elevates the status of Brock Lesnar in the WWE if it's not already at stratosphere levels as it is. So this weekend's going to be interesting. So go Brock Lesnar. I'm rooting for him. I still haven't given you a prediction. You know what? I got to remain loyal to pro wrestling. I got to have faith in pro wrestling and Brock Lesnar. I'm predicting to Brock Lesnar to submit Mark Hunt, I would say, in the second round. That's what I think. I don't really watch any UFC at all, so if I'm right, I'm going to look like a genius. If I'm wrong, I'm going to look like a dumbass that doesn't know shit about MMA. Speaking of UFC, by the way, and professional wrestler, CM Punk's opponent, I believe, has been announced for UFC 202, which I think is in August, late August. Some guy named Vickie Guerrero. I'll have to check him out. CM Punk's another guy that I'm terrified for. I think Brock's chances are a little bit better. Something about me just has this feeling that CM Punk is not going to do well in UFC. He might surprise all of us, and hell, I have a ton of respect for him, win, lose, or draw. To even get in there, I think takes guts. But I think CM Punk is maybe not ready for this challenge. And like I said, I could be completely wrong. He might go out there and kick ass. But I have a feeling he's going to get his fucking ass kicked in his first fight. I just have that feeling. So I'll wait as we get a little bit closer to that fight. I'll familiarize myself a little bit more with his opponent and see if I can predict it a little bit better. But right now, I'm a little bit worried that CM Punk, since it's taken him this long, I mean, he's been training hard for 2 years, I understand that, but going in like this, into a completely different form of combat, something that he's never done before. I'm a little bit nervous for the chick magnet from Chicago. Oh, and I forgot to mention the Jerry Lawler suspension, which was lifted, by the way. The charges were in fact dropped, as we had a feeling they would be in his domestic violence case or whatever the hell went on between him and his fiancée. And he gets out of it scot-free, and I guess he's back to work effective immediately, and we should see him back on SmackDown and the pre-shows, at any time. Speaking of the announcers, too, by the way, I really hope that they kind of shake up the announce teams during the draft. I hope that they're eligible for the draft. I would like to see them bring up Corey Graves, maybe, because Mauro Ranallo is so fantastic on SmackDown. Corey Graves is pretty good, too. I think they would be a pretty good pair. And maybe get Byron Saxton out of there. Maybe even put the King back on Raw with Michael Cole. I don't know, just for old time's sake or something like that. So who knows? But I hope that whatever they do with the commentary team, that something changes somewhere with the draft, because I'm sick of the three-man guys. I'm sick of JBL and Cole and Saxton every week on Raw. I'd like to see that have a little facelift, and I'd like to see the same thing happen on SmackDown. So that's about it for this week. I'm going to wrap it up here. Incidentally, I did pick up the new Razor Ramon DVD that came out today. I had to go to 3 stores. I actually really wanted to see this thing, and I forgot to pre-order it on Amazon, so I had a few errands to run today, so I figured I'd bounce around town and see if I could pick myself up a copy. Finally found it at a Best Buy, and tweeted a picture of it and got a response from Razor Ramon or Scott Hall, which was awesome. So I plan on popping in that DVD later on tonight when I make some dinner and have a beer and enjoy the beautiful summer day down here in SoCal. Also, a lot of requests to comment on the Kevin Durant situation in the NBA. For those of you who don't give a shit about the NBA, feel free to click off this video and I'll catch you next week. For the rest of you that want to hear this, I'll tell you, I can't really be pissed at Kevin Durant. I can't defend LeBron James for going down to Miami and then say what Kevin Durant did is wrong. For people who are saying that he's selling out for an NBA title, he might be. I mean, he's going to a team that set the NBA record for all-time wins last season. I mean, they're already a contender. They're already the favorite to win the championship, I think, next year without Kevin Durant. And here you got a top 5 player in the NBA coming in to join that squad. And it's going to be all or nothing for those guys. I mean, you think about it. Anything less than an NBA championship for the Golden State Warriors is going to be a failure. They were within 4 points of winning the NBA title last year. If they add a superstar like this and fall short again, it's going to be nothing but the Michael Jordan crying memes all over the fucking internet. So it's make or break. I like that it's a 2-year deal. I mean, shit, Kevin Durant could go there for 1 or 2 years, win a couple of titles, and go back to Oklahoma City. He could do exactly what LeBron did. Maybe he needs to go somewhere, get that championship experience so he can bring it home to teach to a new team. He might be trying to do what LeBron did. OKC fans, I'm sure, are pissed off, which I can understand that because he's going to a direct rival of them. They're the ones that beat Oklahoma City in the playoffs after they had a 3-1 lead on them. So it's got to sting for a Thunder fan. But at the same time, I really don't like it when fans burn jerseys and get so pissed off. Kevin Durant, just like LeBron James, had every single right as a human being to leave Oklahoma City. He owed them absolutely nothing. He loved playing there, the city was great to him, but he felt like he wanted to move on, and he was well within his contractual rights to do that. His contract was over. There's no law that says you have to re-sign with that team. You're allowed to go look around and see where the best fit for you might be. He chose the Golden State Warriors, which I was surprised by. I thought Durant should go to the East. I mean, he's got a clear path to the finals because the West is so stacked. Oklahoma City and San Antonio and Golden State, I mean, there's a lot of good teams there. If he goes to the East, his only competition is Cleveland and LeBron James. Maybe New York now. I mean, shit, they've added Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, and they already got Melo and Porzingis, and I think they haven't even added Brandon Jennings, and they got a pretty stacked team as well. So if Durant went to the East, if he went to a team like Miami and joined Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, if he went to the Boston Celtics that have a championship legacy, they could build a team around him there, and he would have a much clearer path, I think, to the NBA Finals because he would really only have one team as a direct threat to him. Where out in the West, it's anybody's fucking game. But, taking the easy way out, I guess you could say he did that, but I don't fault him. He wants a ring. He wants a title. And he is contractually, has the freedom to do that now. So he is going out and seeking out a ring and joining an all-star cast of teammates there in Golden State, and that's going to be a tough team to beat. But like I said, now it's championship or nothing, so the pressure's on those motherfuckers. So I guess we should see Cleveland and Golden State again next year. And I'll tell you what, if LeBron comes out on the other end, on the winning end of that confrontation. There's no denying that he's one of the greatest of all time, but that's looking way ahead. We still got to get through the playoffs, but right now, I guess Golden State is your odds-on favorite to win that trophy. So, no hard feelings with Kevin Durant. I feel for the Oklahoma City Thunder fans. I like that franchise. I liked them all the way back when they were the Seattle Supersonics. My heart definitely goes out to them. It's never fun to lose a superstar like that and to lose someone that's meant so much to your city, but again, he had every right to do it. He's a human being and he makes his own decisions. People don't make his decisions for him. So I believe you should respect people's decisions regardless of whether or not you agree with them. And the same thing goes with Kevin Durant. Show some respect, be an adult, and don't burn any fucking jerseys. Jesus, get a life. So that'll wrap it up for this week. Thank you again for listening. I probably will not be back up here until next Monday night after Raw, but I do have some commentary things that I've been working on this week. You might get a short video. Maybe I can bust out a pay-per-view or DVD review, which I desperately owe you guys. Maybe another This Day in History or something like that. But I have been working on a few things with the channel behind the scenes. So there's a chance that it will be a full week until you hear from me. I'm sorry, I take that back. Most likely you'll hear from me before then. I'm sure I will come up here and react to UFC 200 and whether or not Brock Lesnar won or lost. So forget everything I just said. You will hear from me before next Monday night's Raw review. So have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you in a few days. Until then, peace.